Hey nerds, what's up? Today's video is going to be my March wrap up, and I'm pretty freaking proud of myself. I read 7 books this month. That's a lot for me. I have my Goodreads page set so that it's 52 books, which is a book a week, and every month is about 4 weeks, so this is almost doubling the average that I planned on making. This month I was very inspired by Trina at Between Chapters and Roya at Roya E Reads. By how they do their wrap-ups, they give you a list of all the books that they plan to read versus what they actually read, all of their stars and just good statistic stuff, and it's fun. There's other people who do this too. Books and Lala does it, and so does My Reading is Odd, and I just really like this idea, and so I am stealing it and doing it for myself as well. And let's just get right on into it. Look at him, he's so not into this. I know you don't like it, but you're so cute, I just want to show you off. Look at you. Now he's purring. Still mad that he's being held, but purring. In the month of March, I read 7 books. On my TBR I had 7 books, but they were not the same 7 books that I read. 2 books on my TBR I didn't read at all. I read 3 out of 5 stars. 3 4 out of 5 stars, and 3 5 out of 5 stars. That includes the 2 books plus the 7 that I did read, the 2 books that I finished in March but I had started in February. Instead of going in order as I normally do, I'm going to start with the books I liked least and then go to my 5-star reads. If you guys don't like something that I'm doing for this TBR, please let me know if you would prefer a different way. I will change it however you want. It doesn't really matter to me how I do it. The first book that I do want to talk about was The Tombs by Deborah Schomburg. I did a vlog style review for this, so it does have spoilers and everything in it. Enjoyed the idea of the plot, however there were things that I didn't think were realistic, and also the main character felt a little bit too naive for how much she got away with and was able to do without any help throughout a lot of it. This is a historical fiction novel set in the 1800s. It's a steampunk novel, and there is some clairvoyance magic in this book. The idea of the plot was great. I liked where they were trying to go. I just didn't love the execution. Next 3 out of 5 stars that I read was Bone Gap. I got this book from the library and it was on my TBR for February and I just didn't get to it, and then I ended up listening to it instead of reading it. Magical realism, and I've kind of realized that that's just not my favorite style of magic. It's about a girl that went missing and she was in love with the older brother of our main character, who also didn't love her in a romantic way but just loved her. This book is really hard to describe without giving away spoilers, and it was good, it was well written, it just wasn't my type of book. Last 3 out of 5 star book that I read this month was the Sassy Book Club pick A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This is a children's book that was written in the 60s. I would call it a classic. Maybe it's a modern classic. I read this and I watched the movie adaptation. If you want to watch the live show for the Sassy Book Club, you can find it down below. I'll link it. This book follows a girl named Meg who is 12 in the book, and her little brother, who is around 5 or 6, end up going on a adventure with these 3 witches, Mrs. Who, Mrs. What's-It, and Mrs. Witch, to find their father, who has been missing for a few years. I don't remember exactly how many. I think what my problem was is that it's a very complicated plot that was made for children, and so because it was brought into a children's book, it had a lot of plot holes, in my opinion. It didn't explain anything to the extent that I wanted it to, and while it was entertaining, it just didn't give me enough. This plot is also one of those plots where they do a thing and they finish the thing, and then they do the next thing, and then there's a short climax there, and then they finish that, and it's one of those where they have, you know, sections of things to do, and I also don't love that style of writing because it's almost like short stories, but not. Didn't love it, didn't love it. Moving on to my 4 out of 5 star reads this month, I finished Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Campbell. This book is very weird. It was my TBR jar pick for February, and I finished it the first couple days of March. It's based on a podcast that these 2 men made, and it is a fictional podcast about this dystopian city. Honestly, I don't know how to explain it. Welcome to Vale, a friendly desert community somewhere in the American Southwest where the sun is hot, the moon is beautiful, and mysterious lights pass overhead while its citizens pretend to sleep. It's a town like any town with a city hall, a bowling alley, a diner, a supermarket, and a community radio station, which is what the podcast is, reporting all the news that's allowed to be heard. In this ordinary little town where ghosts, angels, aliens, and government conspiracies are commonplace parts of everyday life, the lives of two women with two mysteries are about to converge. That is a great synopsis that I could not have figured out how to say myself. It's good, it's weird. Next 4 out of 5 star read was Ace of Shades, and this actually just recently came out on April 12th, I believe, so you can now get it. I was lucky enough to receive an e-arc from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley for my e-arc. Book was really good. Follows a couple characters who are all in this city of sin. One of them is a lord of a gang, and there are lots of gangs. Casinos play a huge role, and magic plays a huge role. So everybody has a main talent that I forget the name of that one, and then a split talent, and one comes from one parent and one comes from the other. And the reason that this book gets a 4 out of 5 stars is because the magic system is very complex and not well described. And I don't know if that was purposefully to be mysterious or if it was just not quite grasping how much we needed to understand, but there was a lot of stuff that was confusing about the magic system. Well, that being said, it was interesting to read the magic. I also loved the romance in this book. It's one of those hate to loves. There's also some female friendship in this book that I wanted to love, but I also found a little bit unrealistic given how these two characters meet, and I don't want to tell you. I would highly recommend picking it up. While I did have some issues, I really highly enjoyed it. It was one of those books you just can't put down. The next 4 out of 5 star book I read was Kindred Spirits, and I make that face because it's like 56 pages. It's not a book. It's a short story novella. It was adorable. It follows a girl who gets in line in Omaha, Nebraska, which is where all of Rainbow Rowell's books are set, and she gets in line for the midnight showing of The Force Awakens, which is the first in the newest trilogy of Star Wars. And so she gets to meet all these nerdy people, and it's just a little adorable, cute. And now on to my 5 out of 5 star read. The last one that was actually on my TBR that was 5 out of 5 stars was Radical Element, which is a series of short stories. This is the sequel technically, but you don't need to read them in order in my opinion. I got this from NetGalley as well as an e-arc, so thank you very much NetGalley. This book is a set of 12 stories that go in consecutive historical order, and some of them have magic, some of them don't, and it's all about radical women. And so it's very feminist-y. It was such a good start to the month of March, which is Women's History Month. I think there was only 1 3 out of 5 stars within the 12. All of the rest were all 4 and 5 except for the 1 3. Hands down amazing. I can't wait to pick up the first set that was edited by the same woman as this one, and amazing. My last 2 5 out of 5 star reads, one was a NetGalley thing that I got really late in the month and so just shoved onto my TBR, and the other one was just something I picked up on a whim. So let's talk about my NetGalley e-arc of the month this last month, which was Tyler Johnson Was Here. It came out on March 20th, so it's out and available for you. Yet another story that's following police abuse on Black humans. It's a book about Tyler Johnson's twin brother, who Tyler Johnson gets shot by a police officer, which is told to us in the back of the cover. And for the first half of the book, the twin who we are following doesn't know if he's dead or if he's missing, and then the second half is dealing with the fact that his twin brother is dead and that it was a police officer who killed him. The one thing that I would say is kind of a complaint about this book is that one of 2 things needed to happen. If this story was going to go down the way that it was written, I would have loved to have not known from the synopsis that Tyler Johnson was killed by a police officer. It's kind of a mystery in the beginning, but I already knew the answer because it's like the first sentence in the synopsis or something. Alternatively, it could have been not a mystery throughout the first half of the book, and we could have found out earlier that Tyler Johnson was dead, perhaps from his point of view and the twins' point of view or something like that. Well written, amazing story, so intense. If you liked The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, you will also like this. I hear that Dear Martin is also a very similar story, although that one is more like poetry format, whereas this is definitely novel format. I might be wrong about that. Let me know if I'm incorrect, because I do really want to read Dear Martin. I think the mom's character is even more emotional than the first person point of view of the twin when he finds out his brother is dead. But the mom and how she deals with her son's death, when did I become this person? Who like relates more to the parents than to the... I don't even have kids, guys. I don't even have kids. Last book that I picked up on a whim because it was March and Women's History Month and I didn't have an audiobook to read was Notorious RPG, which is a biography about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the second Supreme Court Justice who was a woman ever. She started out her career not only fighting against the sexism that existed and still exists, but less so than when she was starting out, but also she started out as a moderate, technically, far more liberal than the first ever woman Supreme Court Justice, but yeah, anyway, the whole point is she's a badass. You should read it if you want to know more about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is amazing. Those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Most of my books this month were audiobooks or ebooks. These are the books that I read in the month of March. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Comment down below, how do you like this format of my wrap up? Do you like the old way better where I go in order from what I read first to what I read last? Do you give a shit about the fact that I read this many stars? Do you like that stuff? Because I find it interesting, but like, if you don't give a shit and don't want me to babble for that long, then let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want to be notified for whenever I post videos, which is Mondays and Fridays, then you can also ring that little bell down there and get notified every time I post a video. And I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye! I wish I could